good evening, and welcome back to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Today is 19th of June, and this entire video series it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. For the editorial segment, we've taken up this article, which is titled as "What's in a Name Change? The Right to Life under Article 21 Says to High Courts." See, here essentially we're going to have a look at what is the law when it comes to changing a person's name and how it is a very intrinsic part of a right to life under Article 21. This is going to be discussed in light of two judgments coming from two different high courts. The second segment for today would be the news update segment. And thirdly, we have a look at important legal developments of the day. So with this, let's dive into the TNA, and the first point of discussion would be this article. Let's understand the why of this article first. The right to change a person's name or surname, this is considered to be an integral part of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, and more so recently two high courts. First is the Allahabad High Court and second is the Honorable High Court of Delhi. They've also reiterated the same proposition of law. Let's understand the factual matrix before both of these cases. And first, let's take up the case before the Honorable High Court of Delhi. See here, the Delhi High Court was dealing with petitions from two brothers. They essentially impugned a letter that was issued by the Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE, wherein the CBSE refused to change their father's last name from Mochi to Nayak in the board certificates that are generally issued by the CBSE. His father, the petitioner's father, their father changed his last name from Mochi to Nayak in order to escape the entire social narrative, the social connotation and atrocities, caste atrocities that were associated with this particular surname. And for this very purpose, he had also undergone all of those formalities, be it publishing this change in newspapers and the Gazette, and also pursuant to this change, his surname was recorded as Nayak in his Aadhaar, his PAN, his voter ID. But when it came to changing the same in the school records by the CBSE, it refused to do so. As far as the case before Allahabad High Court is concerned, here the petitioner had changed his name. The petitioner was initially or before his changed name called Shah Nawaz, and later he changes to Mohammad Sameer Rao. And this change was made by the petitioner, but the regional secretary of Madhyamik Shiksha Parishad, it refused to inculcate this change of his name in his high school certificates, the intermediate certificates, and therefore he was aggrieved by this particular order and he approached the Honorable High Court of Allahabad. And in order to justify this name change, he stated that this is done for a higher sense of self, of my self-worth. Therefore, he also did the same formalities, published it in the newspaper and the Gazette, but the Siksha board, it did not inculcate this particular change. The reasons for denying these changes in both of these cases is this. First is for Delhi's case, it was stated that the change in surname from Mochi to Nayak, it essentially would entail a change of caste of the petitioners, and therefore there was a possibility of misuse of this change caste by the petitioners. In Allahabad's case, it was stated that change of name, it is not an absolute right and therefore it cannot be claimed as a matter of right. Let's understand what the High Courts had to say. First, let's take up the stance of the Honorable High Court of Allahabad. So the Allahabad High Court, it stated that refusal to change the name of the petitioner on the official documents, it indeed was violative of his fundamental rights under Article 19(1)(a), Article 21, and Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. Further, the High Court also said that name changes which are made in high school or intermediate education certificates issued by educational boards, they have to be simultaneously incorporated in all identity documents. Like we have our Aadhaar, PAN, ration card, and all of these documents. And this is for the very practical purpose that there is no confusion whatsoever with respect to the name of a person on any of his IDs. As far as the Delhi High Court is concerned, if it said that in this light of this particular case, that if the petitioner had faced this particular change, the name of the surname, it was done by his father because he was facing social stigma and disadvantage because of what the social connotation of his surname was, and his sons were also facing disadvantage, and therefore the CBSE's order refusing the change of their father's name, it was totally unjustified. Further, observing that the petitioners they belong to a scheduled caste, the court said that Mochi it is a caste name within the larger cobbler community, which is dealing with leather work, and owing to their family's traditional work, they got this particular title. And now, if they're feeling prejudice and they feel that they are being treated not respectably, and there is a certain sort of disadvantage that is attached to this particular name, then they're certainly entitled to change their identity that gives a respectability to the petitioners in the social structure. Now let's understand the observation of both of these high courts, particularly on Article 21. So in Allahabad High Court's case here, allowing the name change of the person in his official records also, the Allahabad High Court said, and I quote, right to keep a name of choice or change the name according to personal preference, it comes within the mighty sweep of right to life which is guaranteed under Article 21. However, balancing the interests of both the sides, the court, Allahabad High Court, it added that such right it was subject to the restrictions that are inculcated in Article 21, which is that it has to be fair, just, and reasonable. For this very purpose, the court placed reliance on these three cases. First, we have the Kerala High Court ruling in the case of Kashish Gupta versus Central Board of Secondary Education. This is a 2020 judgment. Then we have the Delhi High Court's ruling in the case of Ayan Chawla versus the University of Delhi. This again is a 3 years old case, which is 2020. And then we have Jigya Yadav versus CBSE. This is a ruling of 2021 by the Honorable Apex Court. As far as the Delhi High Court is concerned, it held, and I quote, right to identity. It is an intrinsic part of right to life under Article 21. The court further said that there is no denying the fact that right to life, it includes within its ambit the right to live with dignity, which includes not to be tied down by any casteism which is faced by a person due to the caste to which he or she belongs. And consequently, the court said that if a person wants to change his or her surname to not be identified with any particular caste that may cause any sort of prejudice to the person concerned in any manner whatsoever, then the change of the name it should be permitted. And with this, we proceed to the next segment for today. We proceed to the national news category for today. The two-day Science 20 conference under the G20 presidency of India, it was held in Bhopal. The theme for the conference was Connecting Science to Society and Culture, and it was presided over by Professor Ashutosh Sharma, who is the president of the Indian National Science Academy. This conference was attended by the representatives of the G20 countries, invited states, and international organizations. Now we proceed to an update in the segment of defense for today. Defense Ministry has approved acquisition of 31 MQ9 Reaper armed drones. India is expected to buy the drones which have an endurance of more than 27 hours and they can operate at up to 50,000 feet. This is in a deal which is worth a little more than 3 billion US dollars. 15 drones will be for the Navy and 8 each will be for the Army and the Air Force. This deal, it is expected to be announced when the Prime Minister of India, he meets his US counterpart Joe Biden at the White House on 22nd of June. This update is with respect to the 4th National Water Awards. The Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Ministry of Jal Shakti organized the award distribution ceremony for the 4th National Water Awards. This was done at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. The award winners in different categories, they will be given a citation, trophy and cash prize. The cash prize range from rupees 2 lakhs to rupees 1 lakh between 1 to 3rd position holders. The Ministry of Jal Shakti, it is the nodal ministry which is responsible for laying down the guidelines, the policies and programs for the purpose of development, conservation and management of water resources as a national resource. The Nehru Memorial Museum and Library Society, New Delhi, it has been now renamed as the Prime Minister's Museum and Library Society. A decision in this regard was taken during a special meeting of the society, which is presided over by the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, who is its vice president. Describing prime ministers as an institution and comparing the journey of various prime ministers to the varied colors of the rainbow, Mr. Singh, he emphasized that all the colors of a rainbow, they have to be proportionately represented to make it beautiful. And this has brought us to the international segment for today. The first update, it pertains to Autistic Pride Day. Autistic Pride Day, it is observed globally on 18th of June every year. This day, it is observed to respect the rights of persons with autism. As far as its history is concerned, in the year 2005, the first Autistic Pride Day, it was celebrated in Brazil by the Aspies for Freedom, which was created by Gareth Amy Nelson, and it became a global event. A rainbow, which is infinite symbol, you can see it here on your screen. It is used to represent the neurodiversity, which symbolizes the infinite possibility of the lives of autistic people. Inkle, it launched new platform for cross-border payment for startups. Inkle, it has launched a platform which is called Inkle Transfer Pricing Payments. This is for the purpose of allowing startups to make cross-border payments from United States of America to India. The funds, they can be transferred within 1 day, and after the launch of this program, certain startups, they've already transferred close to about 1 million US dollar using this particular platform. And now we've come to the last segment for today. First update coming from the Honorable Apex Court, and this is in the case of A Srinivasulu versus the state represented by the Inspector of Police. Here, the Supreme Court has reiterated that sanction for prosecution, as per Section 197, subsection 1 of the CrPC, it is required even in cases where the official was acting in excess of his official duties. The bench said, and I quote, sanction, it is required not only for acts which are done in discharge of official duty, but also required for any act which is purported to be done in discharge of official duty and or act which is done under the colors of or in excess of such duty or authority, end quote. Next update is also from the Honorable Apex Court, wherein the Supreme Court has held that findings related to title in a simple suit for partition, it cannot bind third parties. The Supreme Court recently upheld the decision of the Honorable High Court of Telangana, upholding the title of the successors of Rayot cultivators over the Piga Islands in Telangana. The division bench, in fact, it dismissed the claim of title on the ground that the land, it was a Mathuruka property of the late Nawab Khurshid Shah, who was granted a paiga by the Nizam of Hyderabad. The name of this particular matter is Messrs. Trinity Infra Ventures Limited and others versus MS Murthy and others. And with this, we've come to an end of the TNA for today. In case you want to get access to the free study materials that LawSikho provides or the TNA slides that have been used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram channel. And for the very same purpose, you may click on the link which is provided in the description, or you may scan the barcode here. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. Thank you for being with us.